Lausanne, Switzerland. Olympic officials banned the Russian Federation from the 2018 Winter Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea, on Tuesday, forbidding Russia's flag, anthem, and government officials from having any part in the event. That doesn't mean that none of the nation's athletes will be there. Will any Russian athletes be allowed to compete? Yes, Olympic officials offered Russian athletes the chance to request special permission to compete as individuals under an independent flag. What's the process for getting special clearance? Over the next 9 weeks, athletes must first be approved by their individual sports governing body. Many such federations have spent the last year reacting to evidence against Russian athletes, investigating the hundreds who have been implicated but suspending or disciplining few of them. After those sports officials disqualify anyone with a drug violation, a panel of at least 5 people, most of whom have yet to be named, will review each athlete's drug testing history, as well as potential disqualifying evidence. It will ultimately accept or reject the athlete's participation ahead of the opening ceremony. The panel will be led by Valérie Fourniret, France's former sports minister. How strict will that review panel be? That's the key question. In its decision on Tuesday, the Olympic Committee stipulated that athletes must have undergone all the pre-games targeted tests typically required of Olympians, as well as any other testing requirements specified by the panel to ensure a level playing field. Exactly what those other requirements will be could have a marked difference on the overall number who compete, particularly given drug testing in Russia has been limited compared with other nations, in light of its anti-doping agency's continued suspension. Asked Wednesday if the review panel would publish the general criteria it ultimately applies to its decisions, Thomas Bach, president of the Olympic Committee, said it was up to the panel, making it possible for its process to be opaque unless it decides to make guidelines public. Which athletes have the biggest hurdles to clear? Depending on the panel's guidelines, any athlete implicated in a massive database of laboratory evidence, which was recently obtained by global regulators, could be readily disqualified. That database contains the test results of multiple years of drug tests conducted in Moscow at Russia's National Anti-Doping Laboratory. The results of those tests as entered into the global testing system can be compared to the actual test results, revealing cases in which officials mindfully misrepresented an athlete's purity. Russian athletes from biathlon, cross-country skiing, and bobsled have been disproportionately disqualified from Sochi, and the database in question contains hundreds of hidden drug positives from those sports, according to people familiar with its contents. Still, being implicated in that database, or in last year's far-reaching investigation commissioned by the World Anti-Doping Agency, does not constitute an automatic anti-doping rule violation, making sports officials' judgments central to shaping the final roster. Which athletes have the best chances?